Namaste, hello everyone. Welcome again to my NPTEL course on interior design. We are at the lecture number 35 today, which is the summary and discourse focusing on week number 7. And these are the broad contents. So we are going to see the summary of professional practice, interior services, functional importance, then professional practice also focusing on bylaws, supervision, then building material costing, BOQ, market exposure, product catalogs. We also discussed during the week important organizations, institutes, firms, designers, avenues of pedagogy and practice focusing on interior design, along with the list of references. So we started understanding professional practice of interior design. What are interior services and what are their functional importances? And we tried to understand professional practice in interior design entails a combination of specialized skills, education, as well as a client focused attitude. And we also tried to see what FIDER outlines as its scope. And FIDER is the Foundation for Interior Design Education and Research. So, as designed under the scope by FIDER, it focuses on materials, finishes, space planning as a whole, furnishings, fixtures, equipment in compliance with universal accessibility guidelines. We also talked how it focuses on preparing working drawings, reviewing and evaluating design solutions. Then it also explains how each design firm has its own unique way of approaching the design of a project, and it could depend on the size of a project, project type, design firm's philosophy, resources. So we can have different approaches adopted by each individual, each designer, each design firm. Then this very interesting discussion we had on the scope of service chart, which is a snapshot in time describing today's key interior services. And these services or actions include, of course, coordinating the project as a whole, developing and monitoring the contract, fee monitoring, scheduling. It also talks about defining objectives, gathering information, establishing the big idea, patterning, formatting the presentation, budgeting, designing, graphic design also, as well as documenting. And we saw in great detail what this chart looks like and what are the key actions and what are the associated parameters, and at each stage what is the role of each stakeholder and how this entire chart or inventory helps in achieving great results in the coordination of the project all the way till its execution, closeout, handover. So it's a very, very detailed chart, and we discussed it at great length during the lecture. We also talked about the professional practice, focusing slightly on important legal aspects like supervision, bylaws, codes, conduct, and the increase in product testing, codes, ergonomic issues, environmental issues, civil rights legislation, and other government mandates testify to the increased level of knowledge and implementation skills required from interior design professionals. So this is becoming increasingly important in light of all the above. Driven by cultural and societal changes, economic developments, and technological advances, the practice of interior design has become more cognizant of and responsible for public health, safety, welfare, and hence several codes, bylaws. All of these are in practice and gaining momentum. So, we understood some of the fire safety norms during our discussion, and we try to understand life safety goals, focus being protection of life, protection of property, restoration and use of the building after a fire. We also try to understand what is compartmentalization, which is a crucial concept within life safety, allowing occupants to escape the building and protecting the unaffected parts of the building. and then how it could be achieved through door ratings, floor ceiling assemblies, fire rated walls, fire separations. Life safety equipment is also at our disposal, and it could include some of the following. It's not an exhaustive list. So, exit signs, ceiling mounted, door mounted, emergency lighting, audible and visible fire alarms, fire extinguishers, smoke detectors, and sprinkler systems. We also discussed fire separation, and we tried to understand what is fire partition. It is a wall with a fire resistance rating of 1 hour, and some common fire partitions, they are used in corridor walls, elevator lobby, walls separating guest rooms, walls separating tenants in covered shopping malls. Then we also saw what is a fire barrier, which is a vertical or horizontal structure that is fire resistance rated. It allows for a safe passage. During our discussions in this entire week, we also talked about egress, which has three parts, which is the exit access, the exit, and of course the exit discharge. Then we tried to understand types of contracts in interior design, which is very important for the professional practice. And we talked about these three major types: the basic, the advanced, and the final. And within these, we try to understand what they comprise of or what they include. So, this is for the basic contract: the layout design, elevation drawings, furniture layout, structural details, working drawings. And when I talk about the advanced contract, it includes the visits as well, which means supervision. So, furniture layout, structure details, plus working drawings, selection of materials, top level supervision, layout design, elevations, all those things. And the final contract, it holds everything from the above two that we just discussed, with free consultations also for the future. So, layout design, elevation drawings, furniture layout, structure plus working drawings, selection of materials, complete supervision. So, this was a sort of a comparative chart, and it helped us understand different kinds of contracts and the description for each of these. And then we also talked about fundamental interior design business contracts. So, what is a preliminary agreement? What is the contract, which focuses on fee schedule, maximum hour allocation, litigation agreement, additional fees? It also talks about the detailed scope of the project, deliverables provided, product purchase protections, termination agreement as well. Then, what is the alternative agreement, subcontractor agreement, and non disclosure agreement? These are all very, very important for the professional practice, and we discussed all of these during one of our lectures in this week 7. Moving on, we also talked about building material costing, its importance, what is bill of quantities, then the market exposure and new kinds of materials and different kinds of catalogs which are available. All of that we saw. So, we talked about the scope of interior space, what all it constitutes, and we have to focus on custom made furniture, specific lighting fixtures, shelves and cupboards, curtains, fabrics, wall decors. And for all of these, we must be aware of different kinds of materials, we must have market exposure, we must address the issues of energy efficiency, climate change, sustainability, and be very equipped with latest technology and trends. And along with this, of course, we have to have an idea of pricing. So we talked about floor covering, we talked about the different classification within the floor coverings, what are these different types, and then we talked about wall treatment. Within wall treatment, what are the different types and what is the classification and what are these orders. And then we talked about the window and door decoration. We talked about types of window dressing. We saw some examples and different types. We saw interesting usage of even stained glass. And then we saw ceiling design during our discussions. And again, because we are also talking specifically about materials, we saw some false ceiling materials which are very popular. And more in terms of material choices, PVC, cement fiber, and so many others. We saw fixtures and furniture, and we also had this rigorous discussion on pricing, starting with stone, focusing on the Indian marble and the huge range of marble which is available in the Indian market, and different colors, different finishes, based on also quality, super fine, less grains to more grains, and then what is the cost like. Something, even INR 50 all the way to INR 850 and so on. And we saw these different varieties of the Indian marble. So there is a wide range which is available, and we could pick and choose depending on the purpose, project type, interior or exterior space, the budget, and everything. Then we also saw granite, which is also used very popularly. And here also we saw the different types of granite stones which are available in the Indian market and the pricing per square feet, of course, along with reference images to understand how the piece of stone looks like. So, more on granite. And all of these charts and inventories help us understand things in a very holistic and simplistic manner, along with some kind of an idea about comparison when it talks about the costing. More examples, 65 to 180 over here, the range. Then we saw vitrified tiles, and again the price range which is available in the market and how it varies according to different cities, and the range between Surat and Mumbai and the difference in the per square feet costing. Then, what is the important aspect, or what are the factors because of which the cost of vitrified tiles could vary. So, we also had those kinds of discussions. Again, we saw this city wise comparison, and we tried to understand the rate of flooring, which included cost of tiles, labor cost, river sand, cement, cleaning and grouting while laying the floor. So this was a very interesting discussion that we had. Clay tiles, what are the available colors, what are the different dimensions and specifications, variations, all of that we saw. And we also had a very interesting discussion on terracotta tiles, which are becoming increasingly popular. What are the different colors available, different sizes? What are full bodied tiles? And the discussion on water absorption and so on. Then we saw some catalogs, like this one is for flooring tiles, and the detailed discussion how a product catalog like this helps us understand the details about flooring tiles, how the market operates, how does the production happen, whether there is a regular production for these tiles or they are against an order, and what are the different sizes, where are they applied, all of that. Then more materials and their pricing. So we saw the laminate flooring and the per square feet option available, as well as per box option available, and pricing according to that. More examples of that. We also saw, the plywood, the high density fiber board, the block board, their purposes, their applications, their advantages, disadvantages. Then we tried to discuss what factors are considered for interior cost calculation. It was very interesting, important, useful information. So, we started by understanding the three major factors for interior cost calculation. So, scope of work being very important, whether it's a budget project, premium project, or a luxury project, the quality of materials, and the type of vendor. We discussed that. We also saw some tools and websites which could come handy, but I always recommend to have a work hire, which is a trained professional and a qualified interior designer. But we did see interior design cost calculator and how it works, its features, its limitations. Then we saw some examples to understand how the cost calculation happens when we talk about an interior design project. And we saw 6 examples. I've not put all of them here in the summary. So we were talking about the interior design cost and, trying to understand the difference, whether it's low budget or moderate. So INR 1000 per square feet for a low budget, and for a moderate 1100 to 1500 square feet. For a high end budget, it could be 1600 to 2500 per square feet. And we also established that these are just approximations. Of course, the final cost may vary depending on the final designs, material selection, level of customization, and so on. And we tried to understand another important note, that these rates do not include flooring, bathroom tiles and fixtures, electronic items, electrical items. We moved on to understand this very important concept of carpet area and how it differs from the built up area. Then we talked about consultancy fee, and this is for 2 BHK, and for creating and designing 3D renderings, what could be the price, and then for detailed execution, site supervision, procurement assistance per square feet cost. Then, this consultancy fee for 2 BHK flats we are talking about, and it could range from 650 to 900 square feet carpet area. And for that, this was a sort of calculation that we came up with. So we discussed this in detail. We also tried to understand then, the execution fee which has to be added to that consultancy fee if the execution is also done by you. And again, for a moderate level budget, we tried to understand this fee. And this was this entire detail which has, fall ceiling cost, electrical fittings, electrical works, common things which are applied to all rooms or spaces. Also, the furniture cost estimation that adds up. And for that 2 BHK flat, this is the kind of a cost which is around 10 lakhs. Then we also saw this example of the book promotion center, which is designed by myself and my team. And we tried to understand in detail what is a BOQ, how it is made, and how it helps in understanding the overall method of calculating the cost of the project. Important thing here was that we tried to also understand categories A and B. So A was about the demolition items and B was about the new interior items. And the detailed specification, description, unit, quantity, all of that we tried to understand. This detailed BOQ, several sheets we saw. Along with some utility objects which were procured and placed in the center. So it was a very, very detailed BOQ. Then we saw some innovative approaches for achieving low cost interiors. And starting with being resourceful and trying to have multi use, like this chair being used as a side table, all the way to multi use design and some options which provide the multifunctionality aspect, utilizing spaces under the stairs and other places which are underutilized. Also, reusing the waste and then having seating furniture which looks like what we see on the screen. Some options for the table, recycling, reusing, best out of waste, and concepts like these. Wash basins, some other pieces of furniture, the door frames and window frames converted to some furniture pieces and so on. Then we moved on to understand important organizations, institutes, firms, some designers, and avenues of pedagogy and practice. So we talked about triple ID, we did talk about ADI, and then we talked about IIDA. We talked about some institutes of repute like NID Ahmedabad, CEPT University Ahmedabad, and we talked about IIAD. We talked about many more. This is summary and I've just kept an overview. We talked about some architectural firms, some interior design studios. We talked about Studio Lotus, the practice of V. Mueller Architects, Iram Sultan Design Studio. So, all focusing on interior architecture. So, we chose these very carefully. Some individuals and pioneers who have contributed greatly to the field of interior design: Sunita Kohli, Veenu Daniel, Shabnam Gupta, and many more. We talked about the avenues of pedagogy and practice. We talked about the importance of teaching interior design, getting full training, and be able to contribute professionally. And we did talk about the association with degree programs like MA, MS, Master of Interior Architecture and Design, BDes, MDes, Master of Fine Arts, PhD. Also, we discussed some career paths for interior design and what are the different paths. So, residential interior design, commercial interior design, corporate, healthcare, kitchen and bath, lighting design itself is a very specific field and in demand. Sustainable interior design, universal interior design, exhibition design, furniture design. We discussed much more, and this is a concise summary. So, these are the references for this week long discussion, and in individual lectures, you will find more of these. Some websites. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time.